My girlfriend had an affair with her boss and became pregnant because she wanted a promotion. She insisted I was the father, so I took a DNA test, and the results confirmed I wasn't. After that, I exposed her boss and upended both of their lives. My name is Daniel. I am 33 and I work as a financial analyst for a regional logistics company in North Carolina. My days are structured and predictable, mostly spreadsheets, quarterly forecasts, and early gym sessions before work. I own a small townhouse about 20 minutes outside the city and keep a pretty steady routine. My girlfriend, Melissa, is 29 and works in corporate sales for a medical supply distributor. We were together for 3 years and lived together for the last 18 months in my place. We split utilities, but I covered the mortgage since the house was mine. Until recently, I thought we were building toward marriage. Melissa was ambitious in a way that looked impressive from the outside. She talked constantly about promotions, title upgrades, and getting into upper management before 30. I respected that. What I did not respect was how she treated anyone she thought was beneath her. Waiters, junior staff, even some of my friends. She could be sharp and dismissive, especially if she thought someone was slowing her down. About 8 months ago, she started talking about her boss, Aaron. Early 40s, married, 2 kids, senior regional director. According to her, he controlled everything. Bonuses, travel assignments, account distribution. She said he appreciated her drive. She also mentioned that he believed loyalty should be rewarded. At first, it was just longer hours. Then more overnight trips. She said they were strategizing for a leadership expansion. I did not question it because I had no evidence to question. 3 months later, she told me she was pregnant. She cried when she told me. Said it was unexpected, but maybe it was a sign we should accelerate our plans. She insisted the timing lined up perfectly and that I had nothing to worry about. Something about the timeline did not sit right with me, but I did not accuse her of anything. I asked for a prenatal paternity test. That was the moment everything shifted. She did not answer my question right away. She stared at me like I had insulted her. Then she laughed once and said I was being paranoid. Not worried, not confused, not hurt. Annoyed, like I had asked her to show me a receipt for groceries. I told her I was not accusing her of cheating. I said the timing felt off and a test would remove doubt. I also said if the baby was mine, I would sign whatever I needed to sign and I would show up fully. I just needed certainty. That is when she got mean. She said men like me always need control. She said I was insecure because her career was finally taking off. She called me cheap for even thinking about the cost of a test when we were talking about a child. Then she pivoted to guilt. She was pregnant, she was stressed, and I was making it worse. I stayed calm. I work with numbers, and when something does not balance, I do not ignore it. I repeated that I would support her, but I would not sign my name to something I could not verify. The next day, she went to a lunch with Aaron. That part is normal. What was not normal was how she came home after, glowing and smug, like she had won something. She threw her purse on the counter and told me she had good news. She said Aaron was moving her onto a bigger territory and that a promotion was basically locked in after the next quarter. I asked how she knew. She said Aaron had been mentoring her closely and that he believed in rewarding people who were committed. Then she looked at me and said I needed to stop being a distraction. She said if I loved her, I would just trust her and let her focus. That night, she slept facing the wall, phone under her pillow, and when I reached for her, she shrugged me off like I was an inconvenience. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened, kissed me quickly, and left early. I called my doctor and asked what the process was for a prenatal paternity test and what documentation was needed. I also booked an appointment with a family law attorney for a basic consult because I did not want to be blindsided. When I told Melissa I had scheduled the test, she snapped. She said fine, but when it came back mine, I would owe her an apology for the rest of my life. The test was scheduled for the following week. Non-invasive, blood draw from her, cheek swab from me. Clinical, straightforward. No drama from my side. Melissa, however, treated the entire thing like a public humiliation campaign against her. 2 days before the appointment, she told her sister that I was questioning the baby. By that evening, I was getting passive-aggressive messages about stepping up and being a man. Melissa let them assume I was trying to dodge responsibility. She never corrected anyone. The night before the test, she picked a fight. Said I had changed. Said I used to be supportive and now I was transactional. I asked her one direct question. If you are 100% sure, why are you this angry about confirming it? She did not answer. She just said I would feel stupid soon. At the clinic, she was icy. Arms folded. Avoided eye contact. When the nurse explained the process, Melissa interrupted to say this was unnecessary, but she was agreeing to keep the peace. That phrase stuck with me. Keep the peace implies there is something to hide. Afterward, in the parking lot, she said once the results proved I was the father, we needed to talk about getting engaged before the baby arrived. She said optics mattered. Her boss respected stable family men. That comment landed wrong. I asked why her boss cared about my marital status. She said I was reading into things again. Over the next 2 weeks, she started spending even more time at work. Late strategy sessions, private dinners with leadership. She framed it as sacrifice for our future. Every time I asked a clarifying question, she accused me of sabotaging her momentum. Then one evening, I stopped by her office unannounced. I had dropped my phone at home and needed a charger from her desk. It was almost 8 p.m. Most of the floor was dark. Her office light was on. So was Aaron's. The blinds were half closed. I did not barge in. I did not make a scene. I walked past the glass and saw them standing too close for two people discussing spreadsheets. I left without being seen. The DNA results were due the next morning. The email came in at 8:17 a.m. Subject line was neutral. Laboratory results attached. Melissa was still asleep when my phone buzzed. She had come home after midnight and said nothing about the office. I did not mention what I saw either. There was no point arguing before I had data. I opened the attachment in the kitchen. Probability of paternity 0%. There was no dramatic rush of emotion, just confirmation. The numbers aligned with what I had already suspected. The timeline, the late nights, the body language in that office. I made coffee, sat down, read the document twice. At 8:40, she walked into the kitchen in one of my shirts, hair messy, acting like we were still playing house. She asked if the results were in. I slid my phone across the counter without speaking. She read it. Her face did something I will not forget. It was not shock. It was calculation. She blinked twice, then said the test must be wrong. She said those labs mix up samples all the time. I told her I had already verified the lab's accreditation before scheduling. Chain of custody was documented. There was no mix-up. Then she shifted tactics. She said maybe the dates were off. Maybe she miscalculated her cycle. Maybe we needed a second test. I asked one question. Is Aaron the father? Silence. Then she said I was being ridiculous. I did not raise my voice. I told her I had seen them at the office. I told her I was not asking to shame her. I was asking to understand the full scope of what she had done. She finally snapped. Fine, she said. It happened once. It was a mistake. He promised it would not change anything. He said he could help her career. He said he was separating from his wife anyway. It was complicated. I asked her why she tried to make me sign up for a child that was not mine. Her answer was simple. Because you would have been a stable option. That sentence ended the relationship. I told her she had 48 hours to pack and leave. The house was in my name. I had already spoken to an attorney. She could take her personal belongings. Nothing more. She called me cold. What she did not realize was that I was not done. Melissa did not leave quietly. Within an hour of me telling her to pack, she called Aaron. I could hear her pacing in the spare bedroom, whisper yelling into her phone about how this was not the plan. That phrase again. Not the plan. By that evening, she tried a different angle with me. She came into the living room, sat across from me, and said we could still fix this. She said Aaron was not stable. She said he would not leave his wife. She said the promotion might not even happen now. Then she looked at me and said we could raise the baby together anyway. I asked her why she would even consider that after everything. Her answer was blunt. Because I would make a better father than him. That was the moment I understood her completely. She was not operating from guilt or love. She was operating from optimization. She had calculated outcomes, and I was the safer investment. I told her this was not a negotiation. The next morning, she tried to pivot to threats. She said if I exposed anything, it would ruin her career and possibly mine. She said companies protect executives. She said nobody would believe me over a regional director with 15 years at the company. I told her I had no intention of slandering anyone. I only intended to share facts, supported by documentation, with the appropriate parties. She asked what documentation. I showed her a folder on my laptop. Inside were screenshots of text messages she had left visible on our shared tablet. Conversations with Aaron that were not professional. Promises about promotions. Comments about keeping things discreet until the next review cycle. One message from him saying we just need to make sure your boyfriend stays calm until everything is finalized. Her face drained of color. What she did not know was that after seeing them in the office, I had gone home and checked our shared devices. not to snoop randomly, but to confirm a pattern. And once I found it, I preserved it properly. Date stamps, metadata, backups stored offsite. I am not impulsive. I told her she had 24 hours left in the house, and I started drafting 2 emails. The first email was to the company's HR compliance department. Not a dramatic accusation, not emotional, structured. I outlined a potential inappropriate relationship between a regional director and a direct report. I attached selected screenshots that clearly showed discussions of career advancement tied to personal involvement. I included the date of the prenatal timeline and stated that I was concerned about coercion or favoritism affecting internal promotion decisions. The second email was to Aaron's wife. That one was shorter. I introduced myself. I explained that I had recently ended a relationship after confirming paternity fraud. I stated that her husband had been involved with my former partner and that there was now a pregnancy involved. I attached 3 screenshots that removed any ambiguity. I told her I was not asking for anything from her, only that she deserved accurate information. I did not CC Melissa. I did not threaten anyone. I sent both emails at 9:12 a.m. on a Tuesday. Melissa was in the guest room packing when her phone started exploding. First, it was Aaron. Multiple calls back to back. Then it was a number she had saved as corporate office. Then her sister. Then a group chat she muted immediately. She came storming into the kitchen, demanding to know what I had done. I told her I had shared facts with relevant parties. Nothing more. She accused me of trying to destroy her life. I reminded her that she had tried to assign me financial and legal responsibility for a child that was not mine. That she had planned to use me as a buffer while securing a promotion through an affair. That I had not created the situation. I had simply removed myself from it and refused to carry the consequences. By early afternoon, she got an email requesting an immediate internal review meeting. Aaron's LinkedIn profile went temporarily offline. His wife, apparently, did not handle the information quietly. Melissa started crying around 4 p.m. not because she regretted the affair, because the promotion was gone. She left that evening with 2 suitcases and her ego badly bruised. I thought that was the end. It was not. 2 days after I sent the emails, my phone rang. It was Aaron. I considered letting it go to voicemail, but I answered. Not because I owed him anything, but because I prefer clarity over speculation. He skipped pleasantries. He said I had misinterpreted the situation. He said Melissa had been emotionally unstable and that he had tried to mentor her professionally. He said I had jeopardized multiple careers by escalating something that should have been handled privately. I let him talk. When he finished, I told him I had not sent opinions. I had sent documentation. I also told him that if the company requested further clarification from me, I would cooperate fully. That ended the call. I did not wait for the next move. I blocked his number immediately. Then I opened my contacts and blocked Melissa as well. No announcement. No final message. No emotional send-off. Access revoked. Within minutes, unknown numbers started calling. I did not answer. Emails came in from both of them. Aaron's tone shifted from confident to urgent. Melissa's shifted from angry to pleading. I did not respond. I changed my passwords across every shared platform, removed her from the home Wi-Fi, reset the garage code, disabled her access to the security system app, logged out all shared cloud devices. This was not retaliation. This was containment. That evening, she showed up at the house. I saw her through the doorbell camera, standing on the porch with her phone pressed to her ear. She knocked twice, then harder. Then she tried the door handle out of habit. It did not open. She looked up at the camera, realizing I was likely watching. I did not move. After 10 minutes, she left. For the first time since the pregnancy announcement, there was no noise. No arguing. No strategizing. No manipulation. Just quiet. And I intended to keep it that way. By the following Monday, the situation had escalated beyond personal fallout. A representative from the company's HR compliance division left a voicemail asking if I would be willing to provide a formal written statement. Since I had already blocked both Melissa and Aaron, this was the only channel I was willing to engage through. I called back. The conversation was procedural. They wanted confirmation that the screenshots were authentic, that the devices were shared legally, and that I had not altered anything. I explained that the tablet in question was jointly purchased and logged into a shared cloud account. I also clarified that I had exported the data with visible timestamps and preserved original file metadata. They appreciated that detail. I sent a formal statement that afternoon. No exaggeration. No editorial commentary. Just dates, observations, and attached records. I did not speculate about motives. I did not use emotional language. I simply described what happened and when. 2 days later, I heard from a former coworker of Melissa's who reached out quietly. She said the company had widened the investigation. Apparently, there had been prior complaints about Aaron favoring certain employees. My documentation gave them a concrete entry point. By Friday, Aaron was officially terminated. Melissa was placed on indefinite suspension pending review of conduct and disclosure violations. Her promotion was permanently rescinded. I did not celebrate. I did not post anything. I did not tell mutual friends. I just continued my normal routine. Work, gym, dinner, sleep. A week after that, I received a certified letter from an attorney representing Aaron. It implied defamation and potential damages. I forwarded it to my own attorney without responding. The reply was simple. Truth supported by documented evidence is not defamation. No lawsuit followed. The last update I received indirectly was that Aaron's wife had filed for divorce. Melissa attempted one final contact through a mutual acquaintance. A message relayed verbally. She said I had ruined her future. I corrected the acquaintance calmly. I did not ruin her future. I refused to finance a lie. And that distinction matters. About a month after everything settled legally, Melissa reached out again. Not directly. She had learned that route was closed. She sent a handwritten letter to my office. No return address. I recognized her handwriting immediately. I debated throwing it away unopened, but I read it. Not because I owed her that, but because I prefer information over assumption. The letter was strategic. She said she had lost her job officially. The internal review concluded that she violated company policy regarding disclosure and professional conduct. She claimed Aaron had manipulated her ambition. She framed herself as naive. Said she got caught up in a power dynamic she did not fully understand. Then she pivoted. She said she had taken a paternity test with Aaron. He was the father. He had agreed to provide financial support, but refused public acknowledgement. According to her, he was restructuring assets ahead of the divorce. She said she never meant for me to get hurt. She said fear made her desperate. She said she thought I would be the stable fallback if things with him collapsed. That part, at least, was honest. At the end of the letter, she asked if I would be willing to meet. Not to reconcile, just to talk. She said closure mattered. I did not respond. Closure is something you create through acceptance, not something you negotiate with the person who lied to you. I focused on rebuilding quietly. I repainted the guest room. Donated anything she left behind that had no legal reason to remain. Sold a few pieces of furniture we picked out together and replaced them with things I chose alone. Routine returned. About 3 months later, I ran into one of her former coworkers at a networking event. Casual conversation revealed Melissa had moved back in with her sister. Her career prospects in that sector were limited. Word travels fast in sales industries, especially when ethics investigations are involved. Aaron, apparently, was working for a smaller firm in another state. Different titles, less authority. Consequences do not always arrive loudly. Sometimes they arrive structurally. And structure is hard to outrun. It has been a little over a year now. I am still in the same townhouse. Same job. Same morning gym routine. The difference is internal, not external. A few weeks after the dust settled, I sat down with my attorney one final time to confirm there were no lingering legal vulnerabilities. No financial exposure. No documentation I had overlooked. Everything was clean. My name was never attached to that child in any capacity. That mattered. Melissa never contacted me again after the letter. Through indirect channels, I learned she eventually filed for child support. Aaron contested portions of it. The divorce became contentious. Assets were examined. Emails resurfaced. Career leverage disappeared once corporate protection was gone. The promotion she gambled for never materialized. The reputation she tried to protect dissolved anyway. I did not orchestrate that. I simply refused to shield it. People have asked me if I regret exposing everything. If I could have just walked away quietly. The answer is no. Walking away quietly would have meant allowing a false narrative to stand. It would have meant accepting legal risk for a child that was not mine. It would have meant absorbing consequences for decisions I did not make. I did not retaliate. I documented. I did not escalate emotionally. I escalated factually. There is a difference. The biggest shift for me was recognizing how quickly someone can convert stability into a tool. I was not chosen because I was loved. I was chosen because I was reliable, predictable, safe. There is nothing wrong with being stable. There is something wrong with letting someone exploit it. Now, when I date, I move slower. I verify actions match words. I do not ignore inconsistencies because they are inconvenient. Trust is not blind. It is observed over time. Melissa once told me I had become cold. I disagree. I became clear. And clarity, even when it is uncomfortable, is worth protecting.